Robert Whittaker destroys Ikram Aliskerov. First round knockout, and it just goes to show you it was too big of a step up for someone like Ikram Aliskerov, one of the better prospects at the middleweight division, jumping a non-ranked opponent to go and fight someone like Robert Whittaker, one of the best middleweights in the world. It's just too tall of a task. Now, of course, Ikram Aliskerov was a short notice replacement, right? He wasn't the original opponent. It was supposed to be Hamza in there. Ikram stepped up on short notice, which we have to give him a lot of respect for. He jumped right into the deep end, and he drowned within 1 minute and 49 seconds. And you can see the tactical genius of Robert Whittaker in there. They were technically way too far apart in skill. Ikram Aliskerov for the entire fight was just throwing that lead kick, that left leg of his. He's just popping that out there, right to the body of Whittaker from distance. And notice Aliskerov's stance. He was putting a lot of weight on his back foot, which makes him lean his upper body away from the opponent. I think the reason why he was doing that was because he had a lot of respect for Whittaker's jab. Whittaker has one of the best jabs out there, and Aliskerov wanted to make sure he can lean away from it and counter Whittaker with that lead kick. It's going to keep distance on Whittaker. It's going to catch him trying to make his way in there, but it was a big mistake. The whole thing was a mistake for Aliskerov, because all Robert Whittaker did when he saw those lead kicks going at his body, he simply moved to his left and threw the right hand instead of the jab. Whittaker's notorious signature blitz is always on that straight line. He's going directly at you from distance in a straight line, and this can be intercepted by kicks, jabs, whatever it is. In fact, we saw Robert Whittaker get dropped and TKO'd by Dricus du Plessis for this before, with the hands instead of the kick. But it's a very similar thing. You're intercepting him coming in on you in that straight line with something linear. In Dricus' case, it's a jab to the face. In Aliskerov's case, it's a kick to the body. And Whittaker adjusted very quickly. It was all about footwork. He stepped to the left. This allows him to bypass that lead kick and get right in front of Aliskerov's face for the right hand. Beautiful footwork from Robert Whittaker, man. And he made that adjustment so quickly. The fight was less than 2 minutes long, and he made that adjustment. Step to the left, blitz in on that angle, and Aliskerov did not extend the left kick. He threw a knee instead. Regardless if it was a kick or a knee, it's the same exact thing for Whittaker, right? He's going to step on the inside of that to his own left, bypass the kick or the knee in this scenario, which gets him right in front of Aliskerov. And the fact that Aliskerov's left leg is up like that, he has to balance on his right leg now, which means he can't go anywhere. He planted himself, stationed himself in that position, and now he's got to meet the Reaper. There's something pretty interesting about when Whittaker rocked Aliskerov. Look at the way Aliskerov is standing, and look at how Whittaker hits him with the right hand. This is the exact same sequence when Alexander Volkov got knocked out by Derek Lewis. It's the exact same sequence. Both Aliskerov and Volkov have their knee up, they're planting themselves in position, and both Whittaker and Lewis are stepping to the left side, landing their right hand on the chin of their opponent. Except Lewis knocked Volkov out cold, since it is heavyweight and Lewis hits like a truck. Whittaker rocked Aliskerov and then eventually finished him off. When you're balancing on one leg like this, it's very hard to defend your head even with your hands in a boxing manner. Very difficult. And because of that, Whittaker was able to land that right hand precisely on the chin of Aliskerov, which made him step in like a baby deer, right? He was doing the hokey pokey with his legs, completely rocked. Now, I do question a little bit of Aliskerov's chin because he has been knocked out cold by Hamza before, and he hasn't taken a lot of big shots throughout the rest of his career. Whittaker did, though, connect with a very hard right hand. Whittaker has knocked opponents out before. Now, he hasn't finished someone in a very long time, but we do know he does have some power, especially with the way he blitzes in. When he blitzes in on you with that right hand, his entire body momentum is getting thrown at the opponent's chin, right? It was something that he tried to do against Adesanya in their first fight, actually. He was throwing this a lot at him, trying to enter on angles and land that big right hand on Adesanya, but Adesanya is just so slick on the back foot. Very good counter puncher, very good with distance. He's long as well. Just a lot of stuff that Aliskerov doesn't have, you know? But this time, Whittaker was able to connect with the right hand on Aliskerov's chin and showed his veteran experience of not going crazy for a wild brawl to knock out Aliskerov, right? He wasn't just swinging for haymakers. He wasn't going crazy. He wasn't like desperate for the knockout. He played it like a crafty veteran. He was stepping on that right angle, looking for the opening on the guard. He tried to throw that 1-2 high kick, which missed, and the only reason why it did miss is because Aliskerov lost balance. The funny thing is, if Aliskerov was not rocked and he was in that position, he would have gotten hit by that high kick because his left guard went down when Whittaker threw the right hand before the high kick behind it, which is a very sneaky way the way he throws that. He throws a very quick jab, which is kind of like a throwaway punch, is just to get you distracted on that hand. Then he throws the right straight, which is another distraction on that hand, and an even bigger bait because the next follow-up attack is the finishing blow, and it's coming up on the same side, right? Same side combinations are something that a lot of MMA fighters are not really great at defending against yet. So that right high kick is coming behind his right hand on the same side, and Aliskerov's left hand goes down, which opens him up for the high kick if he didn't lose balance. But even after missing that combination, Whittaker still was looking for the opening. He was following him at an angle, and he saw that Aliskerov's guard was wide open in the center. This is going to cause an opening for Whittaker to connect him with a straight or an uppercut or something like that. So the uppercut was the perfect weapon for Whittaker there, knowing that Aliskerov is instinctually going to lower his chin. And as you can see from Aliskerov's guard, the upper part of it is more closed in, right? The arms are closer together at the top of that guard, but the lower you see on the guard, the more open it is. This makes it perfect for an uppercut from Whittaker to connect cleanly through. And even if Aliskerov is going to lower his chin, it doesn't help that much for an uppercut. So the shot placement, the angles, adjusting, Whittaker was just a genius in there. He was just so far ahead of Ikram Aliskerov. I would say if Hamza Chimaev was in there is no way he's striking with Whittaker. Absolutely not. He would have gotten destroyed in the stand-up, but the wrestling is what would have been a very interesting dynamic with him and Whittaker. But I think at this point, Robert Whittaker is one fight away from a title shot, right? And the only reason why he's not getting a title shot now is because he lost to the champion not that long ago. And the challenger he lost to twice, technically, even though the rematch was very, very close with Adesanya. It's difficult because Whittaker's beaten most of the other middleweights at the top of the rankings. The only two guys available in the top 5 that he has not beaten yet are Sean Strickland and Nasruddin Imavov. Do you do the number 1 contender fight? Sean Strickland versus Robert Whittaker, and the winner fights the champion. That seems like the perfect fight to put together, because here's the thing. If anybody's getting a title shot right now, I think it is Strickland. For the fact that him and Dricus was a very close fight, a lot of people think that Strickland should have won it and still should be champion. And then he came out and beat Paulo Costa. Now, the only thing against Strickland is the fact that the Costa fight was very boring, right? It wasn't that fun to watch. Even according to Strickland and Costa themselves, they both said the fight was whack. So because the performance was not ideal for Sean Strickland, do you put them two together? Do you put Robert Whittaker and Sean Strickland together in a number 1 contender fight? I think that's perfect because there's nobody else for them two to fight. Maybe Imavov, right? You could do Nasruddin Imavov potentially versus Robert Whittaker. That's another fight you could do. Imavov right now, I believe, is in the top 5. Now, if you don't give him Strickland, you could give him Imavov and make that a number 1 contender fight after Strickland fights for the title. Now, who would win these fights? If Robert Whittaker fought Sean Strickland, I don't think it would be an easy fight for Whittaker. It seems like the common narrative is that Whittaker would outclass Sean Strickland, but I think it would be a very competitive fight. I don't think Whittaker's wrestling would be that effective against Strickland. I think Strickland would jab him up a lot from both stances, and he'd be the hardest opponent to hit out of anybody he's fought before. And when Whittaker misses punches, he is very open to get countered just because of the way he throws his shots, right? He's blitzing in with his entire body. So I would think that Strickland, if he tries to counterpunch, he can actually win that fight against Whittaker. So very competitive fight between those two. I probably lean to Strickland winning that fight. And then Whittaker versus Imavov, I would pick Whittaker to win that fight. I think Imavov is a little too patient from long punching distance, and he'd be playing Whittaker's game, which I think he does better than Imavov. So interesting placement for Robert Whittaker right now. And he wants to be the backup fighter for Dricus versus Adesanya, which makes sense. And man, what a performance by Whittaker, man. Absolutely destroyed Ikram Aliskerov on short notice like that. Respect to both fighters for saving the main event. You know, they both stepped in, and hopefully the best for Ikram Aliskerov after as well, you know. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. If you did, make sure to give this video a like, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video.